welcome to our first Meet the Team interview. Today we are interviewing our MD and founder, Neill. Thank you, Neill, for agreeing to do an interview with us today. Do you want to just briefly introduce yourself?
Hi, yes, I'm Neill, I'm the MD of CIS and founded it 31 years ago. So still very happily at the helm and very pleased to do this first talk.
Great, thank you. We'd like to know a bit more about how you came to start up the company. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Well, yeah, it's quite a story actually. So it goes all the way back to when I was doing my degree, and I got to the end of my degree and was not quite sure what I was going to do. And my father offered me the chance to start my business up with £100 and a room in his office and a telephone for a year. And he said, after a year, that's it, you're going to have to go make your own way. And fortunately, he gave me a few clients, and we christened the company after the degree that I did, because the degree that I did was called Computing Information Systems, BSc, and it was a new degree that did not just computer science, but also management and psychology, and even then artificial intelligence, all things that are still very relevant today. It was a really forward-thinking course. So I got started in Whitney, and really the rest is history. We ploughed on and just built the company up through reputation, and until we get to where we are today.
Yeah, and it's really grown over the last 31 years, hasn't it? I mean, I remember when it was just you in a study, and now you've got what, 25 employees in a big office.
That's right, and it's strange how the team has ebbed and flowed with different things that have happened with the world over the years. So originally started off just myself, and that became 2 and 4 and then 6, and then by the time we got to about the dot-com boom, I was up to about 15 people, and then the dot-com boom just blew apart, and we had to downsize again. So I went back to working for myself from an office that you remember, and within a year I was just so busy with customers, again, that it was easy then to get people back on board again, because the dot-com boom, the real problem was we lived in Oxford, not too far away from Reading. That was really an epicentre, and that just attracted all the really good people to go and work for all these new startups. So it was really tough for small IT companies then, because all the good people went to work for Microsoft and Oracle, all the big names you would have heard of, and really you were stripped back then just to 1 or 2 people who were experienced, and really it wasn't going to be possible to maintain a business of that sort of size. So shrunk it right down again, and then within a few years, of course, very lucky to have some smashing people join me, and we've built that team back up again, and we've got the most amazing team now, so that's fantastic.
Yeah, and obviously at that time when you were starting CIS, you guys were kind of at the forefront of computing, because computers were quite new at that point, and technology was quite a new thing. You know, how has that changed since you started the company, and what kind of challenges did that bring?
Well, do you know what? It'll be difficult for a lot of people to relate now to how things were, because of course in 1989 really the internet had only been put into academic institutions. Nobody had email even, so, or even text messages. That was really kind of space technology. So mobile phones were big bricks that lasted about 15 minutes at best, and were hyper expensive. So we were all used to normal telephones with wires and fax machines, if you know what they are. They had used to send a fax with printed paper, really, and people had only just begun to go on to computers from typewriters. And computers then, there were no networks, so they're all standalone computers with floppy disks. And you think floppy disks were these little things about the size of a post-it, and one floppy disk, now a mobile phone would have, let's say, 2.5 million floppy disks in a really cheap phone. So it's very difficult to comprehend just how simple it was. But it was really exciting. It was a real pioneer time when spreadsheets, people were learning what a spreadsheet was, even what a word processor was. So it was really a fantastic time when there were no preconceptions, and it was just amazing to see the transition to the first networks. I remember putting in the first email system, and the customer saying, "Oh, I'm not sure we're going to see this work." And lo and behold, within about a year and a half, he said, "Oh, thank God we did that. That was really good." So we've seen some absolutely fundamental changes in the way things are done, and it's the great thing about being in the industry. The thing I love is it constantly changes. And I love that change. I love new things. I love how we can improve on what we're doing, and it never gets boring. It's never the same job any day.
For sure. And although there were lots of good things, did you find anything that was particularly challenging when starting a business yourself?
Well, growing a business like CIS is all about people, and that's one of the tricky things, is that up until that point, computers were very much about computer scientists, the backroom nerds who would do the programming, and very little about people who could relate computers to people in business who had to run companies. And I think that's probably why I had a good education through Birmingham Polytechnic, as it was then, because they understood that this was going to be for the future. This is about being able to put things in and understand how a business ticked and match the two up. So the challenge has always been about finding the right people who could get it, who could have those skills which meant they could understand problems and solve problems and relate to people. So that's probably some of the biggest challenges, is having people with that can-do attitude, who are empathetic, who can listen to a problem and then clearly communicate it as well. So it's a really important skill, and it's something you have, and it's something that how you conduct yourself. It's a really important thing, and finding those sorts of people is probably our hardest challenge, and always has been, and probably always will be.
And over the last 30 years, obviously, as we said already, the company's grown a lot. What are some of your personal highlights during those years that you've accomplished?
Well, there's lots of highlights, as you can imagine, over a long period of time. The thing I personally enjoyed is the relationships I've had with my customers, as I've got to know them professionally and personally. There's a real sense of trust that they entrust me with thinking about and taking care of their business as if it was my own, and that's something that is a really important thing for me. That we kind of have this fantastic relationship where they give me the ability to do really great things for them. So some of the things super proud of, St Paul's Cathedral has to be one of the best projects where computers there you would think would be not that modern, but let me tell you, that is completely opposite. They're very forward thinking, very much use technology to broadcast services all over the world, and trying to get fibre optics into St Paul's Cathedral and build them a data centre in one of the crypts in the Undercroft, and making that the best possible system for them for the future was an amazing opportunity, and I really love that. But there's loads of them. There's the Reform Club, Credit Suisse, Formula One teams. There's all sorts of things that we've worked with. Really interesting variety. But I really get a kick out of the small and medium businesses, because they're the ones where I can see the change, where we can do something and it transforms them, and it can help them, and you can see every day that is making value for them. And I get
on a very personal level as well, isn't it? Then as
very
well.
much so. Seeing them succeed, turning that trust into systems that work, and that is a real personal pleasure for me.
And so obviously you're hoping to continue that success into the future. Where do you see CIS going in the future?
Well, the future, I mean, it's one of those things where you've got to think about what is coming for the future, and you try and have a look and think, well, it's still going to be about delivering reliability, because computers are guaranteed to here to stay. People need reliability, and without that reliability, it's very frustrating. It's a big waste of time. They need performance, because if things start with computers, people's businesses slow up. But I think generally the biggest growth area is probably going to be in cyber and security, and making sure people are safe, particularly as money now is becoming online and less cash. I think we're going to be a sort of cashless society over the next maybe 10, 15 years, and that leaves a certain vulnerability. And I'm always interested in the human aspect of that. I'm interested in protecting my customers and making sure that they absolutely don't fall foul of these hackers or have their systems compromised, because it's about reputation, it's about being able to conduct their business securely with their customers, and their customers knowing that they're safe too. So there's lots of things to do. We'll always carry on with our traditional support, and we'll bolt on those technologies as they change. But certainly in the next 5 years, cybersecurity is the one that's really going to ramp up and mean that it's going to take a good, solid approach and sensible advice for those small and medium customers to make sure fundamentally they have as good a protection as the big guys. So I think that's a really important thing. We can take some of this really clever, expensive technology and downscale it and bring that to the smaller guys to protect them just as well.
Yeah. And speaking about the future and small and medium businesses, obviously at the moment lots of businesses are struggling, or there's a lot of uncertainty surrounding the future with the pandemic going on. What advice would you give for business owners who are struggling at the moment with that?
Well, it's a really, really tough time, and with any business, there comes these challenges. This is CIS's fourth recession. I think we're about to enter a recession now. So I can tell you that having gone through recessions, it's a good time to not give up, to retrench, to think about things like training. This is a great time to catch on training and look at new skills. Think about the future and focus on where you want to be, and look at opportunities that are there. So we're all working home remotely, so you've got to think about how things have changed. Do you carry on working that way? What are you doing about security? Have you made sure that because the business has changed, that your IT is making that possible in the best possible way that makes it as transparent and as good remotely as it is in the office? And it's a really important thing to make sure that your culture, that your staff, that you do things that bring the team together, because it's very tricky otherwise to have a distributed culture. And that's something that I think of every day, about how us and our customers, we carry on those wonderful relationships, because we all enjoy that, and that's a cornerstone of our business. And I think that we're going to put a lot of time and effort into working out how those relationships will continue, and we use technology. So there are opportunities in recession. As much as it's hard time, it will finish, it will come over, and businesses would hopefully come out stronger and better, having learned maybe some new ideas and approaches.
Yeah. And I know as well as that you guys are really big on communications. There's lots of virtual calls going on, meetings each week, so you're all staying in touch all the time, and you're doing things to boost company morale as well. Am I right?
Yes. So having the remote video conferencing is great. We're using a combination of Microsoft Teams, which is very good. It fits in very well with our Office 365 systems that we use ourselves, and of course our customers use, so there's a very, very easy transition with that. We use Zoom as well, and we do things like company quizzes. We had one yesterday, which is smashing. It's great to have some social fun, and it was just great because everyone wanted to see each other. We do miss that social side, and we're a very happy team, a very strong team at CIS. So we're colleagues and we're friends at the same time, which is a really great mix. And we do spend a lot of time making sure that we invest in our staff, that they are our future, and that once this pandemic is over, that we'll be building on that team again. And that's a really great optimistic outlook.
It's really great to see that continuing, because I know you do a lot of that in the office as well, keeping the well-being of the staff at its peak and keeping everyone happy.
Absolutely, and we all work because we have a living to make and we have to do a job, but we try and make that as pleasant as possible. We've all got a very tough and sometimes stressful environment, particularly because often people are calling us in an emergency if they've got a major problem and they need our help straight away. So it can be a very stressful time. So it's really important that our staff feel happy, supported, not just by the really good sensitive management that we have. We spend a lot of time making sure we put that process and procedure in place, but more importantly, the ability to be flexible in the company and help the environment. So that's we're doing everything from massages. We have charity cook days. We have a healthy eating snack bar. All just little things that just add a little bit of brightness to our day. but fundamentally, we talk to each other. We actually have relationships with each other. We're interested in each other personally, socially, whether it be in work hours or outside work hours. We're always happy-go-lucky team, and that's a really great thing to be able to say that I'm in charge of overall. But these are all my colleagues rather than my employees, and it's great to work in a team like that.
Great. And on that positive note, I think that is all my questions for today. Thank you so much for taking time out to speak to us. We'll be speaking to more members of the company over the next few weeks, and we look forward to sharing more of those videos with you. Thanks so much, Neil, for spending time with us today.